Oh, hello, Studio 108 community. It's Tracy here with Lisa Turner. We are going to, well, we have to dive right in because this is Mars and Mars is fire and Mars says, let's go. So we are going to talk about the astrology of Mars and Gemini. This is a position, or this is an alignment that is going to be in conversation through into 2023.
Yes, ma'am.
Which isn't that far away.
No, it is not.
But it is an alignment that we're going to be working with for quite a while.
It is. The whole cycle is actually 7 months. So it's October 21st, direct, retrograde, and then forward again until March, the end of March of 2023. So it's a big chunk of time.
So when did Mars first come into retrograde? What's the date on that?
The retrograde cycle.
No, not the retrograde. When did Mars just come into Gemini?
In August. I think it's August 20th, August 21st, somewhere in there. Yeah.
21st. It was a Sunday, Monday kind of situation.
Yep.
Because I kind of felt it. But so then we're talking about Mars and Gemini, and what Lisa's saying is 7 months long. While Mars is in Gemini, he's going retrograde. So it's like he kind of like plods along, and then let's think about that, and then let's do that again. It's a long time.
It is. It's a really long time. And I was telling Tracy that to me, the Venus retrogrades and the Mars retrogrades, those are the ones that, for me, I think carry the most weight.
Yeah.
They really do. If you are an Aries or Scorpio, those Mars ruled signs, this is you.
And we're laughing
especially
because
you.
it's us. I'm Aries
And I'm Scorpio, so
yeah.
Very sensitive to the shift.
Yeah.
You know, the retrograde part is going to be really about, starting something new, some conflict, some resolution, some revision. I'm going to go through kind of what Mars means and then how it unites with Gemini and some of those topics that might come up for us. But like Tracy was saying, it's a 7-month cycle. So from August to March 23rd, the retrograde period is actually going to be October 30th to January 11th.
Oh, wow. All the way through that holiday season, New Year resolution, winter solstice.
Yeah.
Something's going to go down because remember, you guys, it's not just like in our personal natal chart. And it is. It's in our personal natal chart. It's also in the collective.
Correct.
And in the past few years, newsflash, the collective is quite a conversation. So yeah, something's going to go down.
And we're going to look to, so from an astrology place, we're looking to, even though Mars is in Gemini, we're looking at Mercury because Mercury has this say over Gemini energy. So it's how we communicate. Like right now, Mercury's in Libra. So we're communicating very diplomatically, right? We're trying to find the balance in these conversations that might produce some conflict, right? We want to see both sides to things.
So
what Mercury is going to start changing signs, which will change the tone, right, of the conversations that we begin to have.
Interesting. So Mercury conversation in his Libra. Libra is the scales. Libra is justice and fairness. So right now the conversation is all about that.
Diplomacy, right? How can we come to an agreement with these things that are going to start becoming topics of agitation or frustration?
Yeah, like you can only dance in that pretty little place. Let's compromise for so long, and then it's going to get real. So when Mercury switches from Libra, where does Mercury go?
Mercury's going to go to Scorpio.
Into Scorpio. So then that's the deep water.
Right.
Okay.
So we're going to follow Mars, and we also kind of want to follow Mercury as we go through these retrogrades.
Mercury sets the tone for what Mars and Gemini can be about.
And the discussions.
Okay, so it's going to be a multi-dimensional conversation. All right, Lisa, where do you want to start then?
So I like to go backwards to go forward. For me, it helps understand a tone. Mars goes retrograde approximately every 2 years. So for me, it's kind of more of a big deal because it's something that doesn't happen on a consistent yearly basis. It spends approximately a month and a half in each sign, obviously, unless it's retrograding. Retrograde does create the delays of what we're trying to push forward because Mars wants action. Mars wants to say, okay, I want to go out and do these things. So we are, but then we're going to have some type of revision or conflict that kind of doesn't let us move the way that we want to move.
Okay.
Yes.
Super.
I'm hopeful that with this retrograde being that it's in Gemini, it's more mutable, more flexible. We're going to adjust to it a little bit better because in 2016, so I went back to 2016, Mars retrograded in Sag and in Scorpio. Even though Sag is mutable, Scorpio's fixed. Mm-hmm. So there's not a lot of compromise when you're in that fixed sign. Mm-hmm. In 2018, it was in Aquarius, fixed, in Capricorn, which is cardinal. Again, very hard energy. In 2020, it was in Aries, its own sign. So again, cardinal, very aggressive. So now we're in 2022, it's in Gemini, and it's in Gemini, not going back and forth in another sign. So for me, I feel like yes, we're still going to feel it and what it's intended to do, but I think there's a little bit more room to get clever, right? We're not going to be so intense.
Well, that 2020 Mars retrograde was pretty intense.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it was.
So maybe there'll be some like wiggle room. Well, Gemini's an air sign. It's a mutable sign, so things are changeable.
Correct. And
so
that's,
we might be able to like dance and find solutions.
Exactly. Yes. So
sometimes you guys, solutions are new next steps. Sometimes solutions are dreams really getting their opportunity. So there could be a flip side. There could be a happy side.
For sure. So like, I'm not looking forward to Mars retrograde, but it happens. There's a reason for it, right? It's our inner reflection time, and we have a little challenge for everyone later to kind of funnel this energy.
Lisa is Scorpio, so Lisa's a fixed sign, so she doesn't look forward to it, but I'm Aries. I like new beginnings. I like things to change. So I'm like getting super excited. Wait a minute, there's some solution space. There's some creativity space. Okay, so like make of it what you will, people, but grab your natal chart and see where it's.
And we will do that.
Because we have to do the houses.
Yeah. So Mars, so if we just go with Mars energy, Mars can be aggressive, it's argumentative, it's our drive, it's sex, it's war, it's passion, how we fight, it's competition. Mars severs, right? And we talked about this, I think, at one point. When you have surgery, you kind of want to know what Mars is doing, because Mars cuts and it severs. Mars challenges, it's our warriors as well. So it's that warrior spirit. Once we start melding this Gemini now, we're melding the intellect, socialities, ideas, restlessness, the desire to start something new, but it's in Gemini, so that we now have multiple things that we're starting or juggling. And we know that, when we're juggling multiple things or trying to start multiple things, it can also have a burnout effect as well. Yeah. Quick-minded, risky ideas. There probably is going to be an accentuation with writing and speaking as we go through. Teaching. Arguments. Notice your words. Notice how you're communicating, which is why we kind of went back to what's Mercury doing, because the way in which we communicate or how we get frustrated is going to change.
Lisa, this really is like so true. And what comes to mind for me is sometimes in my life, it's not that it doesn't reveal itself in the big things. Like I think, oh, what big thing is going to happen? But really it is. It's the everyday conversation. It's the tone of my voice.
Yes.
It's how I answer my husband.
Yes.
It's what I say to the dog. I was driving with Leah the other day and the car in front of me was like so slow. And I said, that's okay, go really slow. And then when it came to this fork in the road, they were here and then they wanted to go there. So they ended up kind of like stopping in the middle. And I like curse. And I yelled at them like, what the, like this. And I'm like, why, Tracy? Like, it's not the kind of thing I would usually do, but there was that extra bit of Mars.
There's
fiery warrior.
Exactly, right.
Gotcha.
Little things. Gemini, ruling that third house, it's our environment, it's our neighbors, it's our immediate community. If you hold a lot of Gemini, you're great at sales, right? You're great at communicating. You have this quick wit, great teachers. If you have a lot of Gemini, but it's also gossipy. So watch how you communicate, or notice if you hear people chirping about you, and that creates arguments and frustrations.
Yeah, I just feel so called out. I don't know if I can tell you that it's hurting, but need to know the tea behind this. And it was just like, yeah, I feel so called out, but yeah, little things.
Gemini energy is also related to thieves and trickery. I have a hard time with this. It is part of our astrological statements. The reason why I have a hard time is I have this very Pollyanna view that everyone's just good by nature. So I have a really hard time with it, but it is part of it. Gossipy, I guess, could kind of fit as well. You're kind of like sneaky and tricky or whatever. But that would kind of be the theme, is that our actions are now tied to the mind and communication. And that as we go through the chart, that will mean different things, at different times. But, which kind of goes into, as I was sitting with what does it mean and how we can yoke it with yoga, I thought of that monkey mind, right? When we start feeling this restlessness and we start, not being able to center ourselves, or we're moving too fast because we're juggling multiple things.
Yeah, Lisa and I have a really good idea to share with you. Actually, she brought this forward, and I think, like, even in the past few days, like, we have habits that kind of hold us together and anchor us when the challenges come. But when the challenge goes on for so long and it feels like it's really rocking your boat, it can be easy to lose track of that. So we want to offer you guys something that helps all of us kind of anchor together and have a practice. So we're going to talk more and introduce that idea later.
Okay.
But just keep listening. Don't tag out, because there's help on the way.
Yes.
Your community is here for you.
Yes. So if you grab your chart, I did go through the houses of where Mars will start to retrograde, or to where it is now, and then where it will start to retrograde. This is a whole sign. So depending upon, whole sign meaning it's the whole 30 degrees.
Gotcha. All the pie pieces on your chart look the same size.
Yes.
Some aren't bigger and smaller than others.
Right.
So that's the kind of chart.
Right. But degree wise, so like when I get to Pisces, if you were to look at my chart, that Mars retrograde is going to go back and forth between the 3rd and the 4th house. So if you know your chart, you may notice that that's what it does, and you'll just apply both of those to your chart or to your life.
Yeah.
But if we start with an Aries rising, so that Aries rising, you're going to have that Mars in your 3rd house. So we're bringing up the topics of communication, travel, education. It is cars, automobiles. So, you might have repairs or get stuck places, that you didn't intend to do. It does bring, maybe arguments with neighbors, or you're noticing that you are traveling a lot in your environment, new ideas, maybe new sales pitches. But that is where your focus is, in that 3rd house. It is also the house of relatives and siblings. So you may notice that there is a focus on siblings at that time as well. We're going backwards. So Pisces rising, now you're having it in the 4th house. So it's home and family stuff. So where are we moving? Are we packing? Are we remodeling? Exactly. Like, what is happening in the home? Are we, needing to travel to see our relatives a little bit more with Mars in the 4th? Also conversations. Are we talking to parents more? What is happening that we're starting to create a little bit more movement and focus in the home life?
Good. Not good or bad.
No.
Just a little magnifying glass.
Correct.
In that category.
And wherever Mars is in the chart, that's where the focus is.
Yeah.
So that's where we're at. With an Aquarius rising, you are in the 5th house. So what is happening with children, creativity? Are you noticing that, one of your children is taking a little bit more spotlight, a little bit more concern? What's happening with fun? Are you noticing that you want to take on a new sport or a new challenge, right? The 5th house is about competition as well, so that may also be what we're looking at, in the 5th house. The 5th house is also about dating and love affairs. So again, it's Gemini, multi-dimensional. So what are you balancing? Have you decided that instead of dating one person, you want to date multiple people, right? We're going through a little change, how we perceive things and how we approach things. So you may notice, that you are getting a little bit more adventurous in your ideas and the way in which you
Can I just interrupt?
perceive
Because
things.
I love one thing about how you're framing this. She's saying you may notice that. So it's not like the chart tells you what to do. It's like the chart, you do what you do. You're living your life. I'm cursing at the other driver. I'm gossiping or wanting to find the skinny on some people. And like, I'm doing what I do. And then I look to the chart to get some rhyme or reason about it to help me better like work my scene.
Exactly. Yeah.
So maybe instead of like getting so upset at the driver, I'm like, whoa, Mars and Gemini.
Right.
Deep breath and zip it, and let's just keep driving.
Yeah.
Right. So I have more, I'm more ready to grab my toolbox.
And so again, and it's trying something new and different. So Mars, going back to Mars in the third house, if we always take the same route to work, maybe we notice that construction happens and we have to reroute. And during the reroute, we notice this, great park or something we had never, would have seen had we not been rerouted.
Yeah, great.
Great.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I love that.
Capricorn. So your Capricorn rising, it is in the sixth house. So we are looking at health. We're looking at health. We're working at work. So are you, again, are you juggling? What is your work life like? Are you finding that you're arguing a little bit more with the people that you work with? Also health. It's a focus. So where's your monkey mind? Are you noticing that you have some nervous tension? Are you starting a workout routine because you need to calm and center the mind? So, that sixth house of health, or if you've been struggling with a health issue, always, especially if you're struggling with something, pay attention to it, notice it, kind of look to see, do I need to, consult somebody new? Do I need to have a conversation in healthcare professionals, in regards to health. Your seventh house is now your Sag rising. So it's always, tricky when Mars goes retrograde in your seventh house, because it is your house of partners. So now we have a focus on relationships. So are you arguing a little bit more with your partner? Are you having conversations, about different things, about the relationship itself, on the dynamics that maybe need to change or shift?
I don't know who that doesn't touch.
Correct.
And I have to tell you, there are some time periods where like, I feel like my husband and I, we don't fight enough. And so things don't stay like fresh and shaken up. And if we're not like, if there isn't anything to talk about, if life is just kind of plodding along, then it can be like, let's make a time to talk, right? And then we have to pay attention to that.
So I don't always look at just my own chart, but I will look at my friends and family, and I know for certain, that my brother has a Sag rising. So his Gemini, his Mars falls in his seventh house. And to give you an example, you don't always have to fight with your partner, but his partner is going to be doing a lot of traveling in the coming months. And if you think about as Mars of action and this kind of focus around the relationship, well, they're probably going to be changing the way their communication style over the phone or text message more, because he's going to be traveling.
Right.
Just to give you an idea.
And also like the communication is going to change, the work tasks at home are going to change.
Exactly.
So like, yeah, definitely.
Right.
And it's not bad. It's just
where
we're looking at it.
Exactly. And to give you an idea that it's not bad. It can, sometimes we don't even realize how it's manifesting until someone says, oh, but he's traveling. And you're like, oh yeah, it makes sense now.
Yeah.
So yeah, to kind of keep that in mind. The seventh house at a lower octave in energy, it is the house of enemies. Could you be arguing with someone that you don't really get along with, or like, yes, that's a possibility. But again, I tend to always not look at that side. to look at the higher octave of it. You know, 8th house, your Scorpio rising, be a little leery of investments. We have now the topic of conversations with debt, shared resources, financial conversations, retirement, wills, death. It sounds really daunting, but again, to give an anecdote of my own life, you know, my husband has a Scorpio rising, and we are just now, as a married couple, we are discussing like, what are our retirement plans, right? So something that could be scary, oh no, we're going to talk about death and wills and all of these things. Well, it's really not. It's just, it's that timing, that conversation opens up. Now, will it be easy conversations? Probably not. Mars is going to go retrograde. Mars is in Gemini. Mercury is going to change signs. So we probably will not make a final decision on whatever it is that we're going to be working with until the spring.
Gotcha.
It's a longer conversation.
Gotcha. But the work and the little tug and pull, which gives you so much time to reflect. You know, I like to think I'm always right. And I always know, like I'm that I know person, but really it's so helpful to butt heads with other people.
It
and
is.
sort of bump into people and to hear their ideas. And if I can like not be in that I know place, like this would be my time to be open to the other ideas from other people and not shut that down.
Right.
Like I have to be the only one making
And
the calls.
you know what, and be open
So,
to the frustrations, be open to the disagreements, because I have a feeling we will experience them.
yeah, and it can be really helpful.
But it can, exactly.
In hindsight, you're super glad.
Correct. In hindsight, you're going to be super glad.
Super glad.
The 9th house, so that brings us to a Libra rising. Notice action, adventure, travel. You know, Mars is an argumentative planet. It's the house of your belief system. So notice if religions or beliefs kind of come into focus. I have a lot of Sag, and my Sag is in the 9th house. So I have a very strong belief system and a strong sense of what I feel is true. Notice that as Mars is in that house, if you get like super like soapboxy, right? Or like preachy.
No.
of what your belief systems are, you know, and just notice that and notice the feedback from other people. But most importantly, notice it within yourself. Or if you're called to take an adventure or travel somewhere, you know, whether it opposes your beliefs or not, just notice kind of what happens. The 9th house is also about legalities. Again, if you have legal things going on, there's probably going to be a push-pull versus a resolution right away.
Yeah.
We're gonna notice that we're starting and then kind of retracting a little bit and then moving forward, because that's what retrogrades are meant to do. No final decisions right yet. 10th house is if you have a Virgo rising. You know, the 10th house wants to achieve. It's striving for success. So from the business world, you know, it's also our the people in power. So are you arguing with bosses?
Yeah.
You know, that could be a big one. The government.
Or maybe like just speaking your mind to your boss.
Exactly,
It
absolutely.
could just be like, no, I'm going to ask for a raise finally.
Yep, for sure.
Yeah.
Yep. Asserting yourself. So Mars is also about, you know,
And
asserting
it's
our
always
will.
like good to remember too, that it's not just I asked for a raise, they said yes or no. The conversation doesn't have to be that short. Like, especially this time, the conversation can bounce back and forth. It could be a negotiation. It could be, I'm going to think about it and get back to you. Like, all of that is okay.
Yeah, I do think that there, again, it's a retrograde. There's a dialogue. It's in Gemini. So some conversation in whatever house this Mars is, there is a conversation about something.
And this conversation is going to be a long conversation from now until March, and it's going to push and tug this way and that way. So no matter what house she's talking about, there's going to be a process.
Yes.
Okay.
Your 11th house, your Leo rising. Notice your groups. Notice if you feel like you want to get involved in groups, and then notice that you may have gotten involved in a group that you're not quite sure of, right? So it's the 11th house. It's groups, networking, changing our minds. meeting new people, new friends, and then maybe you meet new friends, you hang out with them, and then not so much. Or, you know what I mean? You're trying to find that connection.
Gotcha.
Your 12th house is your Cancer rising. So that brings us into that 6-12 axis again. Health. It's things behind the scenes. So if we think of Mars and Gemini, more of that gossipy, are there things happening? Are you gossiping and talking about people behind the scenes, you know, creating and stirring trouble, right? There's more time if you're a writer or if you want to do something more meditatively, 12th house, great place. The 12th house is about hospitals and, you know, places that are unseen or that we kind of put people away. So, you know, notice the unconscious, notice your dreams. Maybe you know, start diving into
journaling.
Exactly, the dream journaling. But notice what's rising from, I guess, the unconscious with that 12th house placement, for sure. Kind of like I said earlier, the Aries, the Scorpios. If you are a Taurus rising, I didn't do Taurus yet. So if you're Taurus rising, it's in your second house of money. You know, what are you working at? What are you doing as far as financially, right? What goals are you setting? Are you trying to diversify? Like financially now, everybody I think is trying to diversify. Time is the biggest resource. It is a second house thing. If you are noticing that you are spending a lot of time on multiple things, that might, you know, deplete you. But where I was going is the Aries, the Scorpio, and if Mars is retrograding in your first house, which is your Gemini rising, that is your physical body. So you may notice that you, if you haven't been really asserting yourself, you may notice that you start to change your physical body, your appearance, maybe start a new health regimen. Again, I think it can create a lot of restlessness in your body when things happen in that first house.
Gotcha. Very physical.
Very physical. Mars is a physical planet. You know, everybody's going through their own chart dynamics, but I have noticed through all Mars retrogrades, now granted they were in very potent signs, fixed and cardinal, there is a draining of energy for me, for sure.
Yeah.
So I noticed that personally, but you know, notice how it feels in your body. And you know, we kind of have this thing that we can start channeling, and I'm really hoping that, you know, through our challenge, it really helps us to regain maybe some of that energy that we are dispersing to all these different
and you know, I don't really know that we want to live, like, we don't have to worry about like doing it right or living perfectly. That's like not the point. But to live with awareness is really powerful.
It is.
And so the tools we've got here, like yoga bar flies kind of thing.
Yeah.
And the tools we're going to share through the end, you know, our little challenge for everyone. These are just tools for awareness. We want you to be like aware and on the right side for yourself.
Yeah.
Like, we're not going to avoid challenge or, you know, life's going to have those things. And we're not going to have to worry about being perfect or making the right decision. Like, we don't have to worry about those things. But, you know, just paying attention.
And I think
being aware.
Being aware is everything, and noticing and being mindful, because life continues. Like at some point I'm not going to be here, but the planets are still going to be here. Life is still going to move in its seasons and in its cycle. But I think what helps me along, and I think you as well, is when we're aware, okay, these are the things that are happening, these are the vibrations, these are the energies, these are kind of what we're working with, and not making it right or wrong, not making it perfect, because I mean, it's not going to be, that's very stressful.
No one likes perfect. No one likes perfect. Yeah.
I mean, honestly, I would really like perfect, but I'm also aware enough to know that it's not perfect.
Okay, so we're not quite done because we have who else rising?
That's it.
Aquarius.
The Aquarius rising, my gosh, did I miss you, Aquarius rising? No, I didn't. Aquarius rising is the 5th house.
Okay.
So that was the dating, the fun.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
I had to go backwards.
All right.
I started with the Aries.
Gotcha.
So yeah,
So that's everybody.
we got them all. Yep, we got them all.
I love
Because
that.
I got all 12.
I
Yeah,
love that. That's super helpful.
all 12 houses. So yeah.
Whew.
It's a. Again, I don't really love Mars retrogrades, but and I tend to think, I try not to, but I do sometimes go in that oh God moment, and then I have to really just sit back and look and go, okay, kind of like I was talking about, with my brother, it's fluid. Like these retrogrades are not meant to like cast judgment or harm. They don't do anything to us.
Right.
Like remember that. Mercury doesn't really explode your computer. It really doesn't have, that much power.
But it's just like, if the water's choppy, you take it easy.
Exactly.
If you're driving in the rain, you put your windshield wipers on.
We want to be
and
in
slow down a
rhythm.
little bit.
We want to be in rhythm.
Yeah.
And
Perfect.
yeah,
In
we
rhythm.
want to be in rhythm.
Yeah.
And we know when we're not in rhythm. I've been saying this to myself a lot this year because I do have a lot of astrological heaviness. And I keep saying there's a season for everything, and this is my rhythm. This is my season.
Mm-hmm.
Mars energy very much wants to go, achieve, and do. And you may notice that the season is saying you may start something and then it may change.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that is the rhythm. And the rhythm is you start, you revise, and then you change it up a little bit, and then you move forward again. And there's a lot of conversation, physical conversation,
Mm-hmm.
and in the mind, ideas, right?
Mm-hmm.
You may notice that the retrograde creates an idea that you didn't think of.
Right. And like lots of ideas, Gemini, Mars, fiery ideas, maybe things that are a little not in the routine that you're used to.
Yeah.
So we have a practice for you because that's sort of how we are. That's what we do.
We do.
Practice.
We want to bring it home at
Yeah.
Studio 108, right? We want to make it personal.
Yeah.
So, I was thinking about the monkey mind and this restless energy, because Gemini energy is very restless. You have Mars who wants to go, 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 go. And all I kept thinking about was monkey mind and restlessness, and mantras. So a mantra, by definition, is a series of words or phrases repeated or chanted in meditation. They give the mind a focal point, producing a beat and flow that are easy for the mind and the body's energy to grasp a hold of. When the mind wanders out of this state, the mantra helps bring it back.
Right? It's a tool to anchor a monkey mind.
Yep.
All right. And I love that you picked a mantra too, because remember, Mercury is communication. So like she ties it all today. It was
I
great.
tried really hard.
But mantra also is a creative tool. And so with the tongue to the roof of the mouth, you're stimulating different places in the brain, and you're putting in your imprint, like in your subconscious imprint, what you want to be printed there, right? And so it's a tool for awareness and a tool for a pattern. So when you work with a mantra, you are using a particular sound pattern to anchor yourself and to structure yourself. And so this is going to help us ground.
Yes.
This is going to help us ground. It's going to help us ground in a very literal, my mind is grounded because I'm concentrating on my mantra. And then it's going to help us ground because we're going to imprint that pattern so that as we leave and go out into our scene, we have a little bit of a pattern that we're holding. Yep. So in the moment, it anchors your mind, and throughout your day, it's going to anchor your psyche. Okay. So tell us the mantra that you can mantra a lot of things, but when you mantra certain ancient sounds, it has more potency to it. So what are we mantraing?
So I really wanted one that for me was really about that Mars Gemini. And I found, correct my pronunciation, the Om Mani Padme Hum.
Om Mane Padme Hum.
Mhm.
And we're like saying hum because that NG at the back of the soft palate where the tongue presses back there is really important. It's going to send the vibration up into the pineal and pituitary glands that sit on top of the soft palate. They're going to get a little vibration. When they get a little vibration, they wake up and they do their happy dance. And then you get the cascade of chemicals that makes you feel calmer and more relaxed. So Om Mane Padme Hum.
Mhm.
Some people do say Padme.
Yes, I noticed it both ways.
Yeah.
But by definition, it says, and it's broken down, but by definition with the whole mantra, it can be understood as purifying the body, the mind, speech through the combination of compassion and wisdom. The path that is the invisible practice of the method of wisdom can take us toward the Buddha mind. So I really loved it because it was just, it gave me that whole, like, that body, the mind, the speech, the, like you said, the points of the tongue in the mouth, it brought everything, to me, it brought everything together.
Mm-hmm. I feel like when I've practiced this in the past, it really connects like heart up through third eye crown.
Mhm.
So like you can have your own experience and kind of see what it brings you. That's really the point, not for us to tell anything. But
Exactly.
what we would love to offer you is a 40-day challenge.
We need Mars. We need the challenge
right?
part.
We need the challenge part.
We need the challenge. We need to say, we need something to work towards,
Yes.
right? Something to work towards, but also keeps this centered as we juggle through all of these different things.
And here's the thing about practice. You put the work into the practice puts the work into you.
Yeah.
So if you do it, it will help you anchor your monkey mind. It will help you pattern something that feels a little more structured as things sort of like they're mutable in Gemini, and we want things to be mutable. It's like we want to wobble when we're trying to balance. We want sea legs when we're out at sea. We don't want to be like stiff when we're out on a rocky boat. So this is going to help us like put a structure in place so that within that structure, we have some ebb and flow and we can be mutable. We can find our solutions, we can find our new ideas. And if you do it, it will do it for you. Like that's the thing. So that's what we're going to do. And we're going to offer you a 40-day challenge.
So excited.
We're going to record the meditation itself for you. So under a separate video, still on my YouTube channel here, you will find the meditation.
Yes.
The mantra. I was trying to say mantra and meditation at the exact same time. We're gonna have a sign in the studio. If you want to be in the studio or if you want to be in the challenge and you don't come to the studio, we welcome you. So I'd be happy to put your name in. We're just going to do a weekly check-in. Still in, kind of like, are you still in? How's it going? Come back. You know, if you kind of like miss a day or miss 2 days, come back. But we're going to have a 5-minute offering for you so that something, a very short bite that we can do every day. And
something that's obtainable.
We're a success for everyone and all in. We're doing it too.
Absolutely.
We're doing it with you. I'm not going to miss a day.
No,
40 days is very doable. 40 days is a challenge. You know, there'll be times when you're like, I should just not do it. But let me explain what a day is. A day is from midnight, 1 minute after, all the way until midnight of the next night. So even if you don't do it in the morning and you feel like you quote should for some weird reason, you don't have to do it in the morning. Most people will want to do it in the morning because then they know they don't forget. But if you don't do it in the morning, it's okay. You could do it at your lunch break. That could be the time where you need like a reset. You could do it after work. That could be the reset before you like transition into the house with the kids or like whatever your scene's about. You might do it like before you go to sleep. You might be laying in bed and this has been me more than a time or two and kind of like happen, I forgot my mantra, which is a mantra in itself. And then I get up and keep the promise. So if you can get it done before midnight and keep the promise, then that counts. And there's something that happens in your own soul when you keep a promise to yourself. When you say for 40 days, I'm going to anchor myself to this. I'm going to take care of myself with this.
5 minutes.
5 minutes.
5 minutes.
Do you have 5 minutes for yourself? Right?
Yeah. 5 minutes.
And Tony Robbins always says, like, if you don't have 10 minutes for yourself, if you don't have 10 minutes to live a better life, you don't have a life. So 5 minutes at any point during the day. Yeah, we're in.
I'm in.
Okay.
I need it. I can feel the restlessness already.
I'm cursing at drivers and coffee. And you're calling me out. I didn't understand. I'm just like, oh my gosh, the shame. No shame. No shame, we're just all playing, we're all playing.
Yeah.
And we're all like enjoying our humanity, enjoying
Yes.
being here as humans and you know, how we can get in the rhythm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for sure.
okay,
The rhythm of the cycles.
love it. Are we good for right now?
We're good.
Okay, we are gonna peace out. Please like, comment, share,
Yes.
subscribe. We love doing this and we love it when we see, you know, people are watching. We really sincerely hope that it helps you.
Yes.
Yeah, and then look for the video. All of the studio emails will
And
get
reach
that.
out, come take
Yeah.
class, reach out online. I mean, we're always here for you,
Yeah.
always.
For sure. Yeah. Namaste. Really many blessings. Remember who you are. Thanks for listening.